Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. Today's episode comes courtesy of this month's Quasar Commander, and they had a pretty important request. Gearfried is one of the many sub-themes wielded by everyone's favorite Soldier of Fortune, Joey Wheeler. Now, I was looking to keep a hold on all those until we got to Joey Explained, one of my many subscriber milestone videos I have planned out for the future, but 90k is a bit far off, unless... So we can have a little taste. We've got highs, we've got lows, and we've got a little story that resulted in the banning of one of the worst equipped spells ever printed. Get ready to armor up, because it's time for Gearfried Explained. Today's episode is possible thanks to viewers like you, as well as my patrons. If you like what I do here, I would super appreciate it if you'd subscribe to help us reach another wonderful milestone video. And if you want to support me directly while getting some awesome benefits, check out the link to my Patreon in the description below. So, what's the deal with Gearfried? Well, the cards themselves kind of go all over the place. The two things you can count on are that they're all warriors, and that generally they have something to do with equip spells in some way. And the best way to start all this is by talking about the original Gearfried the Iron Knight, a level 4 Earth Warrior monster with 1800 attack and 1600 defense, and if either player equips an equipped card to this card, destroy those equipped cards. This keeps it protected from any debilitating equip spells like Paralyzing Potion or yugioh Drakmord, but denies it the possibility to grow stronger with your own equip spells. Heck, it doesn't even single out the iconic equip spell cards. If you equip monsters or traps, those are getting blown up too. Thankfully, 1800 is a decent enough attack for a level 4 monster to have, but the best part is that the effect is indicative of its own lore, as told by Joey himself. Apparently, Gearfried was a warrior of such tremendous caliber that with any kind of equipment in hand, he was unstoppable, so he had to seal himself in an iron suit to limit his own power to make battles interesting. That's right, the man in the iron armor holds the heart of a real show-off, but even that couldn't stop it from doing some exponentially nasty plays. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to bring your attention to a little card called Butterfly Dagger Elma. You may recognize this as part of the cycle of Guardian equipped spells that have cropped up on the channel as of late, and while they vary in power, Elma is arguably the worst, only providing a 300 attack bonus to whomever wields it. But the true power of this artifact lies in the next line of text. If this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard while equipped, you can return this card to the hand, dissuading opponents from hitting it with Mystical Space Typhoon. Though if it were me, 300 attack isn't something I would worry about too much. But what happens if you equip this to Gearfried? Well, it would blow up the dagger, which would then go back to your hand because it was destroyed while equipped. And because it has no activation limitations, you could keep equipping it over and over and over again, and Gearfried would keep crushing it over and over again. Now, that did nothing on its own, but when played alongside anything that cares about your spell activations, you now have an infinite amount of activations to supply unlimited power to those plays. Spell Absorption now gives you an unruly amount of life points. Royal Magical Library draws out your entire deck, or just use it alongside any spell counter based strategy to generate more than you can, well, count. And so, this infinite loop had to be put to an end. And as such, from then on, all the way till now, and presumably into the far future, Butterfly Dagger Elma has been banned, which in turn also banned Guardian Elma, since controlling the Butterfly Dagger was the only way to summon that monster and utilize her ability to equip cards from your graveyard. This may be an issue between a warrior and a fairy monster, but honestly, considering it's got butterflies around, it really bugs me. Many years later, we'd get a retrain in the form of Gearfried the Red Eyes Iron Knight, who has all the same stats as original Gearfried, except the attribute is now dark. Once per turn, if either player equips an equipped card to this card, you can destroy those equipped cards, then you can destroy a spell or trap card your opponent controls. And once per turn, you can send an equipped card you control that's equipped to this card to the graveyard, then target a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So now, the equipped destruction isn't mandatory, instead letting you trade the equipped spell in for back row removal, or Red Eyes Revival, both of which are very powerful effects. This was printed as part of a legendary duelist set, aiming to give Joey's favorite dragon a hearty boost, so you can expect to see this again in regards to the full Joey Explained video when that comes out. We even got Red Eyes Slash Dragon out of it, which would go on to terrorize the competitive scene in Duel Links for a while. Sadly, Gearfried wouldn't have quite as much luck, either in paper or digitally. Turns out, Red Eyes didn't natively have a lot of good equipped cards to use, expecting you to make do with equipped trap cards, blech, or monsters that equip after having already been on the field. And the ones you could splash in weren't exactly breaking down barriers. And without equipped cards, this might as well be a vanilla. And like, the name doesn't make much sense if you look back, right? Like, the Iron Knight already had red eyes. A red-eyed version of it wouldn't be anything special. Gearfried the Swordmaster is a level 7 light warrior monster with 2600 attack and 2200 defense that can't be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned with Release Restraint, and each time any number of equipped cards are equipped to this card, target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Release Restraint, by the by, is a normal spell card that has you attributing a Gearfried the Iron Knight to special summon a Gearfried the Swordmaster from your hand or deck. So this card, it's not bad. Tacking monster removal onto any of your equipped cards is a great way to make them playable, but it is probably one of the best jokes the game has ever pulled off. Like, the monster that has a violent temper tantrum anytime a sword shows up is also the one that eventually loads those swords into a cannon and fires them at the opponent. And Lord help you if you don't draw the specific spell that helps the angry one get naked. Which isn't my own observation. The Japanese name for this is literally Swordmaster Naked Gearfried, which of course is markedly untrue. He's wearing the loincloth. Light Ray Gearfried is a level 8 light warrior monster with 2800 attack and 2200 defense that can't be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned from your hand by having 5 or more light monsters with different names in your grave, and can't be special summoned by other ways. Once per turn during either player's turn, when a spell or trap card is activated, you can banish a warrior monster from your grave to negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. But all monsters you control must be warrior types to activate and resolve this effect, which is... God, this card is surrounded in weird stuff. Okay, let's start from the top. This is another in the Light Ray series of monsters that have also cropped up in a number of videos recently, much like how there are dark counterparts to a lot of iconic monsters, Gearfried, Armed Dragon, you know the ones. There are also Light Ray retrains that care about light monsters, and this is one of the more sensible ones, checking for light monsters in your graveyard instead of the banishment like some other Light Rays tend to do. The effect ain't that bad either. Being a spell or trap negate is huge, and is in line with the version of Gearfried that this pulls from, which we'll talk about next. It's the warrior restriction that confuses me though. The light rays are, as the name implies, all light, but span a number of different types. So why are we randomly type locking ourselves here? For flavor? Look, Gearfried, you're not exactly tearing up the competitive scene here. You're not in a position to be making demands like this. Can you at least hang out with the spellcasters like Greffer is doing? Building community is super important, you know. Phoenix Gearfried is a level 8 Fire Warrior Gemini monster with 2800 attack and 2200 defense, following all the usual Gemini text. When treated as an effect monster, if your opponent activates a spell card, you can target a Gemini monster in your graveyard and special summon that target. And during either player's turn, when a spell or trap card is activated that targets any number of monsters on the field, you can send an equipped card you control to the grave to negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Here's the version of Gearfried that the Light Ray form was aping, and wow, is this a mixed bag. It released as part of the Warrior Strike structure deck, which made a go at making Geminis playable, with Fire Warriors being their flagship attribute and monster type combo. And for what it does well. Spell cards are very powerful and very spammable, so getting a free monster every time your opponent activates one can give you a huge advantage. And we can see the equipped spell lineage crop up with that negate. But all of this is tied to what is effectively a level 8 vanilla monster that then either requires an additional normal summon to access the awesome effect, or some kind of Gemini related effect that unlocks its effect. And I'm saying effect far too often in this paragraph. Suffice it to say, especially at time of release, this card wasn't exactly easy to deploy. Your deck has to be kitted out to accommodate these kinds of summons, and spoilers, that wasn't happening. So while it made for an interesting build around, it just didn't cut the mustard, which is a huge shame because art-wise, this design is incredible. The giant scooping shield, the fantastic sword, the big sleek armor paired with rugged leather and cloth to add some medieval grunge to it. This card rules. Though not a lot to do with Phoenixes it looks like though. Wonder how that got in there. I mean, it can't be because there's fire around here, otherwise we have a lot of renaming to do in this game. Immortal Phoenix Gearfried is a level 9 Fire Warrior monster with 3000 attack and 2200 defense, and you can banish an equipped spell from your field or grave to special summon this card from your hand. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks, you can equip a face-up monster on the field to this card, maximum of 1, as an equipped spell that gives it 500 attack. And when a monster effect is activated as a quick effect, you can send a face-up equipped card you control to the grave to negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Okay, now we've got something meta here. Bolstering the combo-heavy Infernoble decks at the time, though it really functions with anything that likes equip spells, Immortal Phoenix is the successor to the original in every way. It's easier to summon, drops the Gemini baggage, adds some removal to the mix, and negates monster effects now, and not just ones that target. This is the real deal. The only issue with this card is that it was not available in structure decks like they were in the OCG. Over in the TCG, that structure deck was chopped up and put into a side set, meaning we had to pull it out of packs the hard way, leaving a bad taste in basically everyone's mouth. But regardless of its infamous release, it still demands respect whenever it hits the board, and while it may not have any effects that make it immortal, with the kind of recursions you'll find in decks running this, it'll feel immortal. Last up, we have Guilty Gearfried, the Magical Steel Knight, a level 8 light warrior fusion monster with 2700 attack and 1600 defense, requiring any 2 warrior monsters with different attributes as material. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets this card as a quick effect, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy a card on the field. If this card was fusion summoned using only monsters on the field as material, it can make a second attack during each battle phase, and once per turn, if this card battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation as a quick effect, you can banish a spell card from your grave, and this card gains attack equal to half its current defense until the end of this turn. Normally, that's going to be 800, bumping this up to a cool 3500 attack, but because the effect doesn't check for original defense, any boost to that stat can then translate over to the attack stat for that effect. This is the result of Joey fusing Gearfried the Iron Knight, an Earth monster, with Guiltia the D-Knight, a Light monster. And honestly, this card's kinda wild. The materials are easy for almost any warrior deck to assemble. Heck, even among Gearfried monsters, they cover every attribute but wind and water. And for your troubles, you get a potentially 3500 attack double attacker that can negate an effect targeting it with retaliating removal built right in. It's kinda nutty. It's not supremely splashable, so don't expect this to be usable in every format, but every once in a while, a warrior deck that can utilize fusion is going to crop up, and if so, this is a monster you're going to have to watch out for. It's well positioned to steal the show. Alright, so that's all the Gearfried cards, but what do we do with them? Well, it's more like, what can they do for other decks? Rather than be its own archetype, these cards have always existed against the backdrop of other strategies. The closest thing you can find to a unique strategy here involves Iron Knight evolving into Swordmaster, but even then it's only really worth it in decks that have a saturation of equip spells that you can make use of. Otherwise, you've got Red Eye's Iron Knight, which supports Red Eye's decks, Light Ray that you can stick into any light deck, and honestly, even then, they better be light warriors. Guilty Gearfried can prop up any warrior deck with some fusion added in there. Phoenix Gearfried fills out your box of old cards you don't play because they suck, and Immortal Phoenix Gearfried is tearing it up with Infernobles. Perhaps one day we'll see a proper Gearfried archetype in the same vein as the excellent Flame Swordsman cards, but for now, we'll just have to be content seeing the story of a knight who buried their passions in cold iron, who found the flames of that passion once again. Though, you know, if it could take up something like pottery or painting tabletop minis instead of recreationally negating all my stuff, I'd super appreciate it. But now, I want to hear what you all have to say. Are Gearfried monsters as metal as it gets, or do we still struggle to get the equip drip? And which one's your favorite? Phoenix Gearfried is pretty cool, but I'm also pretty partial to the elf berserker that is Swordmaster. Let me know your favorite down below, and if you haven't already, please be sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, check out one of my vids in the sidebar to help me show up in your homepage, and be sure to share this video with somebody you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode is brought to you by Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales that even come with their own lore, and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout. It was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commanders, Upstairs Media, and Sir Knight JCB, Nebula Navigator's 3rd Dynasty, 50 Gigabytes, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Battle Axe, Kane Senpai, Charlie Mercury, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Copperbottom, Eric, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Green Knight, Great Big Pillock, Hair Bear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Garp, Marion James E. Picata, Mike Cook, Millennia Asta, Muse Clark, Neon Yami Nair, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Pat Boos, Rank 10 Trains, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sonic 21 Blast, the Critic of Innocence, Thievery Coast and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders ally Vatnia, Animasta, Anthrak, a Random Pup, Baden von Tete Sprinkles, Beluga Masta, Blitzwolf, Chaz Ghost, Chibi Gohan, again, Christopher Fuss, again, Chris B, Cool Trainer Dark, Dante Lawson, Dr. Entity RIP, Eki Bullock, Eva Padilla, Herbal D, Kale the Dragon, Lobomaru 02, Manga Pages, Martin Moore 2468, Natiel Lee Alexander, Nitromo, Not Al Gore, Nyx, Obsidian, Pombo, Rhyme Kairos, Shwenny, Shizuki Nijimura, Sophie, apparently, Sphilia, Stephen Williamson, The Legendary Raven, The Phantom Knights of Shitted Pants, The Queen of Time, The Gene, Tiger X2476, Tristan O'Meara, Zeldreka and Zero De Nova, as well as the lovely Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the link to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member. And if you'd like to see another video all about fierce and feisty fire warriors, check out this video where I cover Ignites. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.